just one reaction: wow. I mean, to see the Taliban, and these are actually fighting Taliban, they're not Taliban leadership, these are Taliban fighters, they're in the presidential palace, sitting in the president's desk, some of them lounging elsewhere in the office, in the armchairs where President Ghani used to meet other world leaders and dignitaries. These are amazing scenes. I'm told elsewhere in Kabul, elsewhere outside the presidential palace, they are now flying the Taliban flag. This has happened so fast. As you say, I was in Afghanistan just 8 days ago. I certainly wouldn't have left if I knew things were going to move this fast. And it is really quite amazing after the whole 20-year investment of the West in Afghanistan. Just the US alone spent $144 billion. That's from a US government report in Afghanistan, and for what? There'll be questions asked about the failures here. Forget about whether it was right or wrong to withdraw the US troops. The way it was done, was there a massive intelligence failure? Did the US not predict the Taliban would move so fast? Was there a massive military failure? Because remember, the US military trained the Afghan forces. What did they not understand about that? I think it was the psychological blow of the announcement of the pullout, the fact the Afghan government had made no preparations for the pullout, the fact the US system with the Afghans, effectively the US military were the officers and the Afghans were the soldiers, and when the officers pulled out, the soldiers didn't know what to do. I also think the US was still looking at a map of Afghanistan that was made up of provinces and districts, and of course the Taliban were looking at a tribal map and speaking to all the key tribal players and getting them to change sides. And lastly, what a diplomatic failure. All those talks in Doha, the US strategy in those talks proved, I think, to be not the right strategy at all. They took the Taliban on trust that the Taliban, once they pulled out their forces, would negotiate with the Afghan government, that they'd come up with a unity government. I don't think that President Trump, who started those negotiations, or President Biden were perhaps following the words that we used to hear from Ronald Reagan, that Russian proverb he used to always cite: trust but verify.
The diplomatic fallout will be felt far and wide. You had the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken on the American television earlier, claiming that they've accomplished absolutely everything they had to. This was not a failure of any shape or form. It'd be interesting to see if he stands by those remarks, given the scenes that we're broadcasting here on Al Jazeera. Just in terms of where the UN stands on this, James, we understand that the UN Security Council are likely to be meeting to discuss this. It looks like they're going to have an awful lot to talk about, isn't there?
Absolutely. The situation is moving so fast. There was a call earlier on for a Security Council meeting. Some council members, I think, have been slightly dragging their feet because they really don't know what's going on, and they're trying to find more information of exactly what the situation is so that they can have a proper discussion of it. The latest information is the Security Council meet in just under 12 hours from now. That'll be an open meeting, so you can guarantee we'll be broadcasting it here on Al Jazeera. And I'm hearing that the representative of the UN in Kabul, Deborah Lyons, will be briefing, but so will the UN Secretary General because of the gravity of the situation. The latest word on the ground from the UN is that they are not evacuating people at this stage. They are not doing any operations, though. All UN staff confined to their compound means no humanitarian work is going on. They are desperately worried about the security situation, as are many of these diplomatic missions, which are now scrambling to get their personnel out of Afghanistan. Remember, out of the 15 Security Council members, 6 of those countries were actually countries that had, at some point or other, soldiers in Afghanistan. And, of course, some of them, particularly the US and the UK, had very large numbers of soldiers in Afghanistan. We've seen pictures in the last couple of hours. The French ambassador already evacuated. There are reports that the US ambassador is also now left Kabul. We don't have that confirmed at this stage.
OK, certainly things are moving very, very fast indeed.